Hey guys, it's Sarah and today is Booklist Thursday, and this is a video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library, and we are bringing you a fun, different list or prompt or whatever we feel like talking about regarding books every single Thursday. Today we are going to be talking about our 5-star prediction follow-ups. So these are books that we predicted we would give 5 stars, and I believe we posted the original one back in March, I want to say, March or April, one of those 2 months, in a book list, and we gave you 5 books that we thought we were going to give 5 stars to, and we gave ourselves a few months to read those books, and now we are coming at you with what our actual thoughts are because we have both read all 5 of those books. So that is what today's going to be. My first one was Into the Black Nowhere by Meg Gardner, and this book is book number 2 in the Unsub series. I read the first book earlier this year and loved it. It's one of my favorites of the year so far, and I love that one. So I assumed that I would give the second one 5 stars as well, so that's why it made it onto my list. And this is a book series that follows an FBI detective, and she is tracking serial killers. The serial killers in these books are inspired by actual serial killers. The first one was inspired by the Zodiac Killer, and the second one here was inspired by Ted Bundy. This one I only gave 4 stars to. So not quite a 5-star read for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book, definitely. And I don't know what it was, but I feel like maybe it was because we knew who the killer was really early in the book. I think that made me lose a little bit of interest in it. I still enjoyed it though. It was still a 4-star read, and that's still a good rating for me. So it wasn't that I didn't like it. It just didn't quite live up to the first one, I believe. And so not quite a letdown. I still really enjoy it, and I'm still really excited for the next one to come out, whenever that's going to be. But it just wasn't as enjoyable as the first one for me, so not quite a 5-star. The second one I had on here was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and this one I checked out from my library, and this one's very interesting. I did not give it 5 stars. I gave it 4. Upon further distance from the book, I would probably move it down to a 3. And the reason for that is because I don't remember a lot of it. And I think it might be because I listened to it on audiobook. I think that might be one of my problems. I don't do very well with fantasy audiobooks, and I'm starting to learn that about myself right now because I'm starting to read a little bit more fantasy, and when I do read a fantasy audiobook, I tend to miss a lot of the details and miss a lot of things, and I feel like I didn't quite get the whole story, and I think that's what happened with this one. I remember the basic premise that it is a girl who finds out that she is actually part of the Fae world, and it's a whole family situation. So she goes and lives in the Fae world. She's trying to fit in. There's an enemy in there who absolutely hates her, and they end up having an attraction to each other when it's all said and done, and they have to go on some adventure, or they have to like get a relic or something like that. See, I don't even fully remember. I read this book and I'm just like fumbling over even the synopsis. So this might be one I need to reread in physical form, I think, is what I might need to do. I'm willing to do that when the second book comes out, if I can find it at the library, and like grab 1 and 2, like, you know, The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King, and maybe read them back to back. But I feel like I need to reread this book to really fully know what my actual rating is going to be, and I just think audiobook was not the way for me to do that. So I did give it 4 stars initially. I would probably bump it down to 3 right now. I'm not going to until I do my reread just to see what I think, but yeah, that read was not a 5-star for me. The next one on my list is one that I just finished, and that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and I thought I was going to give this 5 stars because of everybody else and their mother giving this book 5 stars. I gave it 4. And this one, I really liked it. I really liked the premise of it. I liked the idea of the traveling theater troupe, you know, just trying to make the best of a really bad situation with the apocalypse and all the, you know, danger that's going on, and they're still, you know, they're trying to make people happy, and they're, you know, still pursuing their passions by performing Shakespeare plays and symphonies and all that. And the reason I gave it 4 stars is because I found myself getting a little bit lost in the beginning with how much it jumped around. It was jumping around a whole lot. Towards the end, it made much more sense as to why it was jumping around, and things were starting to kind of come together and tie together, which I ended up really enjoying. But at first it threw me off. And I think that definitely had an impact on my rating. And I also thought some of the sentence structures in here were a little bit too long for me, because some of the sentences were really long. There was a point where I was reading a sentence and I was like, this is still going. This is one sentence still going here. So I didn't like that a whole lot. It wasn't throughout the entire book, but it was enough that I noticed it. Yeah, so 4 stars. I really, really did enjoy it. I really, really did. And I don't know, it just didn't impact me as much as it seems to impact other people. Next one that was on my list was Nevernight by J. Kristoff. Oh, this book. Oh my gosh, I loved this book so much. And it was really funny because it took me a while to get into this. It took me from when we first were moving. I had it on my Kindle as well, and I was reading it on my Kindle at first, which is fine. And I wasn't connecting to the writing style at first. It took me a while. It took me probably 30% of this book to kind of like be comfortable in the writing style. And I was conflicted about that because his writing is really good, really, really good. I could easily picture everything that was going on, even though this is like a high fantasy book. And his way of like, he's not afraid to hurt his characters. And I love that in an author, like they're not afraid to make their characters suffer. And I love that. And his humor is fantastic. I love his humor. There are a lot of footnotes in this book, which kind of threw me off a little bit at first, but they were mostly like really important. It was a lot of the backstory without giving you a whole bunch of the backstory. You know, it was, here's the history of this in a few sentences instead of an entire chapter on the history of this. So that I appreciated. I felt like I understood the world a whole lot without having to read a whole lot about the world. You know what I mean? So I really liked it. And some of these footnotes were like one sentence, and it was so funny. I just loved it. There is a cat who's not a cat in here, which is fantastic. I loved that character so much. I have a new crush, and it ended up crushing me. Oh my goodness. I absolutely loved Trick. I loved him. He's such a great character. And yeah, so once I really got used to this writing style and just like really immersing myself into the story, I could not put it down. And I just was floored by this book and what happens in here. There's a whole lot I didn't see coming. It was incredibly creative, incredibly creative. It was really gross at some points, like really gross, but I dig that. So, oh, I loved it. This took me by complete surprise. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. I expected it to be a 5-star read because of what other people were saying and how excited I was to read it, but I did not expect it to be what it was, and just, I loved it, and I'm obsessed with it, and I am so excited to get the second book. It's in my cart on Book Outlet. I'm just waiting for a sale, and I'm just, oh, I love it. And now I want to read everything that this man writes. I don't care what it is. Just, I love it. I loved it. Can I say it again? I loved it. And my last 5-star prediction was Bring Me Back by B.A. Paris, and this one I ended up giving 4 stars again. So this one is by an author who the other 2 books that I read from her, I gave 5 stars. So I was expecting to give this one 5 stars too. This one was not as good as the other 2 for me at all. And the reason for that is I just felt like it was much more character driven than the other 2 were, which is fine, but I didn't feel like there was a whole lot for us to unravel or try to figure out, and that's what I like in a mystery and in a thriller. I like trying to figure things out and trying to piece things together. This one didn't have quite as much of that for me, and the characters were awful. They were all pretty awful. They all had some issues going on, which, I mean, that's fine, but I don't know, it just didn't it didn't quite do it for me the way her other 2 books did. I did still really enjoy it. I did give it 4 stars, but I definitely enjoyed the other 2 better. All right, guys, that's it for me. So those are my 5-star follow-ups and what I felt about them, and only one of them this time was a 5-star read for me. So that's very, very interesting. I don't know that I have had only one 5-star happen so far when I've read them all. So very interesting on that one. And I want you guys to let me know down below if you've read any of these books and what kind of star rating you gave them. I know a lot of people do not like Bring Me Back. I know that, believe me. I've seen a lot of reviews. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I understand why. I do. I personally really enjoyed it, but you know, it is what it is. And I am really excited to go see what Lindsay thought of her 5-star prediction, so make sure you go check her out. I will have her link down below as always, and I will see you guys again really soon. Have a great day. Bye.